Welcome back, Perks Recap Podcast. I'm outdoors for the first time on the podcast, just sitting in the bright sunshine. It's a really nice day out. And with me, of course, is Al, going to be doing the NFL Draft 2025. We're going to do it a little different from last year. We're going to go 1 through 32, team by team, who we think we're going to pick.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Last year we rotated between the two of us, and this year we're just going to use the brain trust of Craig and Al to make each pick, or
Nice.
discuss what the good possibilities are, at least.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm going to spring a question on you that I
hmm
did not tell you about before,
Okay.
but just real quick. Teams aside, just the individual players, who do you think has the most impactful rookie season? Who's the most impact player in this draft?
Oh wow. I think it's a toss up between Cam Ward and Ashton Janty.
See, I think it's Abdul Carter, hands down.
Yeah. See, I don't. I mean, I think he's a very good player, but the odds are, especially with the team that he looks likely to go to me.
Yep,
I don't see him making that kind of impact. He's a very good player. Don't get me wrong.
I think he's the best player in the draft.
Yeah, I'm not with you there.
Or in the other, and number two for me would be Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Travis, and listen, we're not far off. It's like I'm disagreeing with you, but barely because he's my number two. Actually,
Yeah,
I take it back. He's my number three. Janty's my number two, but it's splitting hairs. But
yeah.
Travis Hunter is definitely number one.
Okay, well, all
But I
right.
love it.
Let's
This is
take
the
it.
kind of thing that makes drafts fun because we're probably having the same conversation right there that the top three teams are having.
I believe so. Absolutely, yes.
Or hopefully they're done having it by now, but that they've had for months.
Knowing that team that's picking third, they probably don't have any idea what they're doing.
I hope you're right because I love that.
Yeah, although if they get Abdul Carter, that defense is going to be very, very good
No doubt about that, and it
because
adds
they
another.
made some secondary signings,
hmm
and they still got um, Dexter Lawrence on there and Banks with Carter
Oh,
there. That's going to be tough.
and I mean, who's the guy they traded for from the Panthers last year? Burns and
Yeah, well,
Kayvon
I
Thibodeau.
said Banks. I'm sorry, Burns.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought there was another guy I wasn't thinking of. My bad. I wasn't trying to
No,
correct you.
Burns, Dexter Lawrence,
Kayvon
Thibodeau,
Thibodeau.
Carter if they get him.
That's four fastballs on your defensive line. So yeah,
Uh,
but they
and
are.
they made some quarterback and defensive back moves in the free agency.
And you know what they didn't do?
They didn't sign a good quarterback.
They also didn't measurably improve their offensive line yet again.
Yep, I totally agree. So that's going to be the Achilles heel. They're not going to be able to score any points, but I also don't think they're going to give up much. Maybe the second half of the defense gets tired, but there's going to be a lot of low scoring first half games. I think with the Giants.
Well, they better keep their leads because they're not going to be able to use their pass rush in the second half very much when they don't.
Agreed. Okay,
I love it. It's a fascinating thing, man. It really is. Yeah, I love it. That's a great question. That's a great question. I could talk about that for another 20 minutes, honestly. Like that's a killer question.
so you said you had some news and notes before we get
Yes,
started.
so I have some little nuggets here I want to hit you with, and one of them, I what happened?
What was that?
I'm sorry. I thought I heard something. I think it was outside. Sorry, I have my
It might
door
have
open
been
and I'm
might
hearing.
have been the wind. If it gets too bad, just let me know and I'll go back inside.
No, I think it was my neighborhood noises because I have my door open. You're outside. I open my door, and both of those are firsts for our pod. So, okay, couple news and notes here, and I want to start you with the one I mentioned off air, but didn't tell you the specifics of because I found this incredible. Um, did you hear this? This is the first draft since 1993 that every team, all 32 teams, hold their original pick going into the first round.
Really?
Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Mm. I couldn't believe it when I heard it, Craig, and then I was just waiting to see if a trade would happen between now and the start of the draft to break that. And full disclosure to our listeners, it's about 2:40 on draft day, and nothing's happened yet. So it looks like we're going to head in there that way, which is pretty cool. That's pretty wild, huh?
I think we're going to get couple trades during the draft, though.
Well, we'll get a bunch. We'll probably get 20. I mean, Howie Roseman alone will do 5, you know. But nothing has like this has happened since 1993, and trades weren't nearly as common back then. So, yeah, fascinating little thing to start the draft there. Another big deal piece of news. Another thing I reminded myself listening to last year's pod about the draft was I was talking on there about draft invites and how the NFL doesn't like to invite anybody to the draft that they're not damn sure is going to get taken in the first round.
Yep.
Now, with that in mind, two really interesting things happened in the last 2 weeks. Jackson Dart accepted and then rescinded his invite to the draft. Now, I still think he's going in the first round personally, but it's very interesting that he did that. And then another person who I wasn't giving any consideration to the first round accepted one of the 17 invites, and that's Jalen Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama, which
Wow.
which I had no intention of putting in the first round before that happened, and we'll talk about it later what I ended up doing with him, but or my thoughts about him. Um, so there's another little thing. Another thing. This is considered a relatively weak draft at the top, not the top three, but after the top three. But
Yep.
it doesn't mean it's a bad draft. In Daniel Jeremiah's one of the guys I respect in the draft world, his terms, it's a starter draft, not a star draft. So if you're drafting after the top three, there will be stars. There's always stars, even when we think it's the weakest draft of all time. But
Yep.
that's more the kind of way that the experts are looking at this draft, which is kind of interesting because it means what that means is there's going to be even more wildly inaccurate mock drafts than most years because there's such a mixture of opinion on a lot of the people past those top 3 guys we were talking about.
I saw somebody, and because I looked at a bunch of mocks, I saw
Mhm.
somebody go number 4 overall, and that same guy number 30.
Oh man, and I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I could take a couple guesses, and it doesn't surprise me. There's 3 quarterbacks that are in the discussion for first round or not.
I think there's 4.
I'm curious who your fourth is. Let's say it right now. Let's say it right now because I'm curious.
Shuck,
Who? Oh,
Shug,
Shuck. Okay.
Shuck or
Okay.
Shug, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, he's getting the most helium out of any player in this entire draft. And I heard somebody say he might go as high as 15 overall.
That's really interesting, man. Yeah, I've
He's
heard a
getting
lot.
crazy, crazy helium, rising faster than anybody else in the draft. And now, what was going to be a second or third round pick now is, I think probably still second, but high second and possibly even sneak into the first.
That's fascinating, man. Yeah, I would be surprised if he ends up in round 1 just because he has so many red flags. He's a 1-year starter who's going to be 26 years old when he
Yep.
takes the field for the first in the NFL. So that kind of guy going first. The last time I remember somebody like that, it was Achilles Smith, who was 25, I think, coming into Cincinnati as a 1-year starter from Oregon. So I know what you're saying. You're right. He is getting a lot of rising. Who is it that's his biggest proponent? Is it? One of my favorite draft experts is huge on him. It's either Jeremiah. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But yeah,
Right.
no, good
And,
call.
I,
Good call.
and I've done like looked at like 4 or 5 different mocks. He's only in one of them, but he is in one in the
Yeah,
first round.
that's cool. Yeah, that guy's he's taking a swing on it, and I respect it. The one that the more surprising thing to me, even in that happening, is that it's now a realistic possibility that Shador Sanders doesn't go in round 1,
Yeah.
which I never thought was going to happen at the beginning of this whole process. Never.
Can you
I
imagine
still
if the
think.
Giants can grab him in the second round?
Oh, that would be amazing. Now, apparently, though, if I watched a whole thing with Todd McShay, he is 1,000% convinced that if he lasted to round 5, the Giants wouldn't take him.
Oh,
Apparently,
okay.
he has some inside information that he believes in 1,000% that the interview with the Giants went so badly that they won't take him no matter what. Now
But
I
they've
don't
met him
know.
like 5 different times. They flew out there like literally, I think 4 or 5 times
I know. I
to see
know.
him more
I
than
know.
any other player.
And that's what McShay is sticking by. So now I
And
don't
that's why
know.
some people think he's still going 3.
Right? Yeah. I haven't seen anybody put him at 3 for a while now, though, I will say.
Right. Yep. I agree. But
And
I
we'll find
saw
out just
something
how
on
good
YouTube
McShay
where,
is without his ESPN connects because he's on his own now. He was one
yep,
of the 4,000 people released from ESPN last fall, and so I don't know how good he is without Uncle Mel. You know what I mean?
right, yep.
But he was vehement about this. So I'm very curious to see and we might find out because he might last to pick 3 in round 2 now. I mean, it's possible. So I don't know. It's fascinating. Okay, couple other little things, and then we can get trucking here. The Travis Hunter playing both ways thing kind of came to a head because I think early on there was a lot of talk about him playing both ways, of course, from him. Then the main talk from experts and NFL people was kind of poo pooing it for the next couple months. And then all of a sudden he came hard in the last 2 or 3 weeks and said basically, I'm never going to play football again if the team that drafts me doesn't let me play both ways. So Travis Hunter's going to play both ways in the
I think so
NFL.
too. And I think the team that's going to get him will let him do it.
Yeah, I think they'd be crazy to take him without planning on letting him do it. It would cause a problem right from day one.
Totally agree.
And then the only other thing I want to mention, because this is, as I mentioned with Jeremiah saying it's a starter draft, not a star draft, but the one position that is massive in this draft is tight end. Tight end is deep. The top two everybody knows about, Tyler
Yep.
Warren and Colston Loveland, but this position is 6 deep in first round talent. Mason Taylor, Elijah Arroyo, Terrence Ferguson, Harold Fannin Jr. All guys that if they went, they're not all going to go in the first round. They're all going to go in the first 2 days for sure. One or two of them, Mason Taylor and or Harold Fannin, are the two most likely to me to sneak into the end of the first round. Could be the Eagles even if they happen to stick at 32. But big day for tight ends, and there's some massive uh, pass catchers coming into the NFL
Well,
this year. A
especially
lot of
after Bowers last year, everybody's going to try to get him. And I think the closest one, different skill set, but I think Warren is the closest one in terms of that kind of production that he can possibly do in his first year.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people on the I've been hearing a lot the last week or so that Loveland. It would not surprise people if he went over Ty Warren now. Those two are 1 and 1A. And the big advantage to Loveland, if you're looking, I'm a Warren guy. I like them both actually. I mean, they're splitting hairs, but Loveland is 3 years or two. He's not. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He's very young. Warren is not old. He's normal age for a guy coming out of college, but Loveland's only 20 or 21, so he's got that extra youth factor. And they're both hulking, massive human beings, and they're gonna. I think they're both gonna be great. So we'll see.
Yeah, isn't Warren like 6'6"?
They're both. Let me wait. I have all the measurables. Give me one sec. Oh wait, I wrote it down. It is. I think they're both like within a whisper of each other, and they're both 6'5" or 6'6". I have a by position thing, and I'll have it in a second. Here we go. Yeah, they are 6'6", 248 for Colston Loveland. And this thing is trying to take over my damn it. I'm sorry. Bear with me just a sec, Craig, because here we go. Yeah, 6'6", 248 for Colston Loveland, 6'6", 256 for Tyler Warren.
Yeah. Yep. Those are some big targets.
There's some
Big targets.
huge individuals. Check this out. Harold Fannin Jr. is 6'3", 241, but the next one, two, three, four, five, six, the next 6 guys on Daniel Jeremiah's top 10 for tight ends are all 6'5", every one of them, and the lightest one is 241.
Wow.
There are some massive pass catchers coming into the league this
So
year.
6'5", 250 is the prototypical tight end now.
You got it. You got it. Exactly. Exactly. Good call. So, all right. That's my news and note. And yeah, wherever you want to go now, my man.
All right. Well, Tennessee's on the clock. Do we even really have to discuss? I mean, this is Cam Ward, and I think it's not without question.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. There's zero doubt. It would be shocking beyond belief if they did anything else. They did nothing in the offseason to address this position. It has to be quarterback, and everything under the sun points to Cam Ward.
Absolutely, totally agree. All right. Well, let's just move right along then.
Let's do it.
Cleveland. Travis Hunter is who I have for Cleveland. I'm thinking you do as well.
100%. And 99.9% of the mock drafts that have come out in the last couple of weeks have that as well.
they can ruin this entire draft if they draft Sanders. That's going to screw everything up.
If they do anything but Hunter, it would be.
I could see them going Carter.
I could too, but it's just that everything, the talk, all
Yep.
of it has been pointing. There's been no whispers about Carter at all for a month. So
Well,
it would be.
yeah.
It would be.
I
Now, do you
looked at
think
it.
the Giants would just take Hunter? Would it just be that easy?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. Um, but there is I like I said, I looked at it like 4 or 5 different mocks, and I kind of wrote down at least the first few for each one, and there was one that had Cleveland taking Carter, and
Right on. Right
it
on.
was updated too.
Right on. Yeah, somebody is going to put their neck out, hoping that the non chalk thing happens because it
Right.
happens. This kind of stuff happens every year. Everything, something that we think is going to happen isn't going to happen. So maybe that's it.
All right, Giants. I have Abdul Carter.
Yep. This is the end of the easy ones right here.
Right. Um, and there was an interesting theory on the Sports Talk yesterday saying that they one of the guys on there believes that they're taking Shador Sanders, and they think that they've been. See, this is giving the Giants too much credit, in my opinion.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't think they're this savvy or this smart. But he thinks that they have questions about how Sanders handles adversity, how he handles the media.
Hmm.
So they visited him more than anybody. Let's just say they like him, they want him, but his opinion was, what if they put all this out there that they're not going to draft him to see how he reacts to it?
Now I agree with everything you said so far. That's a fascinating thing, and I also agree that the Giants aren't that savvy. But let's say they are, then
If they
that would
do
be.
that and they draft him,
Would that be slick? And then they're feeding Todd McShay this stuff about how they're not going to take him. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I mean.
yep.
Everybody's got sources in the organization. They're telling everybody, no matter what anybody asks you, say we're taking Carter. I don't.
That's
Like I said, I don't think they're that savvy. I still, I would bet a lot on it being Carter. But I just thought that was a really, really interesting take on it.
it is that's awesome. It would be so awesome if that happened because it would be a jaw dropper the way the story has unfolded. It wouldn't have been.
Another thing too is the fact that he did well with the adversity. The media came down, coming out on him now saying he's going to fall to 20 or something, or maybe out of the first round,
And he's
and
been
he
nothing but
handled it
classy.
well.
He's been nothing but classy. Yep,
Right.
absolutely.
So that's another thing in that theory's another point in the checkbox there for that theory.
I love it. I love it. I would love it if that happened because it would just turn the draft on its head within the first 15 minutes. That'd be so awesome.
It would be great though too. That's another thing. I kind of wanted to be turned on its head, just
Me
complete
too.
chaos, complete
I would love that.
chaos.
Oh, and do you know how much Mike Vrabel would be? He'd jump through the ceiling if he had a chance to get Abdul Carter.
I know.
Oh man, wow. Okay, well, now
All
let's
right.
assume it's Carter for the sake
Yep.
of discussion moving forward. But I love that you brought that up. That's so awesome.
All right. So New England. Now this is the one where somebody had them getting Josh Simmons,
No way.
which is way down the list for every other person had him going way later than this. So I don't think it's him. I think it's either going to be Mason Graham or Will Campbell.
I'm with you. I had Will Campbell, but I
Yep,
would not be.
I
Go
have
ahead. I'm
Campbell as
sorry.
well. I have Campbell as well.
Right on, right on. And it's funny the story with Will Campbell because he was the clear, undisputed number one tackle coming into the draft discussion, and then his arm length was 1/4 of an inch of the lowest of ideal for offensive tackles, and all of a sudden people were dropping him down to 15. You know what I mean?
That's
Which I
just
think is
stupid.
one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I mean, listen, if his arms were 2 inches too short, that might be a real issue. If he's an actual T Rex, that's one thing. But when he's a 1/4 inch off the ideal, I don't give a crap at all. And
Nope.
most people in the NFL don't either. And it's been funny watching that instant sort of combine discount and then him rise back up to where he should be by the time. And this is the most common number 4 pick that I've seen as well. I like it too. It's Will Campbell for me. I also want to bring up another really interesting possibility, and I'm going to shout out my buddy Keith Martin. who is one of the biggest football guys I know and the biggest Bears fan I know, and I like him despite that. Um, he he's also the singer in Snap Squatch. If anybody ever saw Craig react to us, but he's a big Bears fan, and I was talking to him last night, and I'll be getting together with him and another buddy for the draft tonight. And he mentioned a very interesting possibility because when you're into a team, like you get Dallas and Giants inside stuff because of your New York proximity, and he gets big time inside Bears stuff because he's a Bears fan. He said there is a massive amount of rumors about the Bears trying to trade up here for Ashton Janty, which I thought was fascinating.
Well, yeah, because people were saying originally that he was going to go to them, but then they got all this smoke about him going a lot earlier, and actually to our next team here.
Yes, which is that's I figure this all tied in perfectly together. So let's give Campbell to New England and talk Jacksonville because yes, I had something here that I thought made sense, but now I'm not convinced. I think this is the jump. Well, four with a trade, four could be the jumping point for a jump off point for Janty, but I really think it's five at Jacksonville, like you just indicated.
Yep. So I have Jancy going to Jacksonville.
Right on. Right on. Yeah. I have Mason Graham, but I am going to flip flop, I think, and make it Janty. I just don't know. They have so many damn needs, but then I was gonna make it Graham just because even though who's our guy that we like from ATN that is starting to fade into obscurity, unfortunately. He's still, I think, it has, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. The point is, Mason Graham is their new GM's exact kind of guy. So I kind of still want to go with him, even though everything is pointing to Janty right now. And here's the point I want to make: their GM, James Gladstone, worked under the guy at the Rams that we both talked about being so good, whose name always escapes me. Um, Guess who James Gladstone pushed really hard for in the draft last year? And by the way, Mason Graham has short arms too. He has
Yep.
the Will Campbell T Rex thing. So, but again, I don't care because guess who has the exact same arm length as Mason Graham, who James Gladstone pushed to draft last year? Braden Fisk,
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
who had 9 sacks as a rookie with his short arms.
Yeah.
So take your short arms and shove them up your you know what. I'm going to stick with Mason Graham here just to be different, but I think Janty is very likely,
All right. Cool.
which means I would have Janty then going to the Raiders. So what would you do then if you had
Well, I have Membo,
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Armand,
The second best tackle.
yeah, what's his, Membo? How do you say it?
I think I've heard Membo.
Membo? Okay.
Yeah.
Armand Membo is who I would have with Vegas.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense if it plays out if Janty's gone for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. Um And in my scenario, I wouldn't have Janty gone, so I would take him. But if Janty went to Jacksonville, I'd be right there with that pick for you. Or I would pivot to Mason Graham just as happily.
Okay. So who are we staying with for Vegas now?
So for Vegas, you were saying
Membo, and you're saying
Membo,
who?
and I will say Mason Graham. No, I will say Janty. I'm sorry because I sent Graham to Jacksonville.
Okay. All right. So the Jets on the clock. I think they are going to go with the tight end. I have them getting Warren.
I'm right there with you. This is the first really logical spot, and um, Daniel Jeremiah has the top two tight ends we discussed, Tyler Warren, one of them, obviously, in his top 10 overall prospects at any position. And you don't see that very often where two tight ends get into overall top 10s. So this is a very special year for tight ends. There is absolutely all the justification in the world you need for the Jets to take them. They have so many needs, you could justify almost anything, but a stud tight end is certainly one of their needs, and they get one right here. I'm with you.
If Membo is there, do you think they take him instead?
Then you have a really interesting discussion.
Because
It's
I've
I
heard
think
I saw him a lot too. It's like it was both mostly Membo or Warren is what I saw the most of.
that was my choice. In fact, that's funny you asked that, Craig, because in my mock because I just went through and did all 32, not being 100% sure what we were going to do. So I had Membo there first, and he's still staring at me, crossed out, and I put Tyler Warren, and Membo went a little later.
Awesome. Okay. Now this one was the most. I went through like five mock drafts, and most teams have three, four, or five different players listed in them. And the later we get, the more players.
hmm
Carolina only has two because
I
everybody
think
has
one of
them
them is the
hitting.
guy I have, and I'm curious who the other one is.
Well, the guy that I saw everybody saying that they're going to take is Jalen Walker.
And that's who I have. Yep.
Yep. The other guy that got some love was Mason Graham.
Okay. If he dropped to them, absolutely. Then it would be a really a coin flip between the whether you want do you want the best potential the potentially best edge or the best defensive tackle available. So yeah, I'm with you 100%.
So I got So all right. So Jalen Walker, right?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And another, by the way, another team that has so many damn needs. They just whoever they consider the best player on the board, they can justify.
Yeah. I mean, linebacker edge hybrids are a lot of fun.
I
I love
absolutely,
linebacker edge hybrids.
I love them. Yeah, I think you know something about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the last time Howie Roseman will make that mistake because the Eagles had this glaring error in their thought process for years where they would just not because they were a 4-3 team forever
Yep.
and they would not take these hybrid edge guys unless they thought they could play full-time defensive end. And the talk going into that draft with your boy who's why am I blanking on his name right now? Please say it for me.
Micah
Micah Parsons.
Parsons.
Micah Parsons. The talk that year was even if he was there for them, they wouldn't have taken him because he didn't fit their system.
Yeah. And don't forget that Marcus Ware was as well.
Yes, right. And that's another guy the Eagles wouldn't have touched with a 10-foot pole. So now they finally got over that because they play a hybrid D now. But and thank goodness for it. But yeah, no, I love a good hybrid edge guy, and it used to drive me crazy watching them just float past the Eagles on the draft board every year. All right. So now we talked about the Giants being a big like linchpin keystone to this draft. I think we have another one coming up here at number 9 with New Orleans. What do you think?
I could definitely see a move being made here, but I didn't put any trades in my actual picks here.
No, no, and I'm not even talking about a trade necessarily. I'm talking about who they could potentially take.
Oh, I have that pick. Yes, Shador Sanders.
Okay, now I had Shador Sanders until this morning, and I was listening to a couple different things on CBS Sports. An article came out this morning. I'm going to pull it up now so I can quote it, but that they are the Jackson Dart not expected to fall past the number 9 pick.
Wow.
So I switched. I am going Jackson Dart at number 9 over Shador Sanders, which I never thought I would say 3 months ago for sure. But and it could just be one of those cases of overblown draft buzz. But I'm going to go for it. We saw it last year,
Okay.
man. 2 quarterbacks went where we thought there was no chance in hell. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go for it.
That's awesome.
Right on, right on.
All right.
But we both have quarterback. I think that's the pick.
Yeah, I believe so.
Right on. All
I
these
think
David or
they
Carr.
got to go quarterback.
I mean, listen, even without Carr having supposed shoulder issues that we don't know the whole story about, I wouldn't put it past him to take him a quarterback at number 9 anyway. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Add that in, and I mean, you almost have to if you like a guy. So yeah, let's. I love it. I love it. Can't wait to see where they go if they do it because these rumors are just fascinating to me. So all right.
All right. So now Chicago. This is where I have Mason Graham going.
Oh, see that they would be falling all over themselves if that happened, and I would love that. I know my buddy would. I didn't have Armand Membo going yet, so that's where I had him going, which I think also makes a lot of sense for them.
Okay. So you had Membo.
Yeah, and only because a lot of people think he might be a guard in the NFL because they have 2 tackles they like, but a lot of people think he might be a guard, and they have like offensive line needs. So and he's the best offensive lineman out there, as in notes. So I don't know if it's a perfect fit, but it's a fit that makes kind of sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to protect that. You got to protect Caleb. So,
Yeah, they have line. They definitely had line woes. So a lineman of some type will be taken at some point in this draft, whether it's here or not.
yep, totally agree. All right.
Awesome.
So, San Francisco.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Yes, I have them taking Michael Williams from Georgia.
Okay. Yep. That was one of the many guys I had it considered for him, and I went with for them. I mean, and I went with Shamar Stewart, who is going to be a little slightly lower probably on your defensive end lists, but I wouldn't be surprised with either guy, Craig. But I'll give you my take on why I went with Stewart, just because he fits this kind of San Francisco upside pick profile that I've watched over the years, and he just feels like a Niner to me. And I could be totally wrong, but he is of the top five defensive end prospects on most lists, and he's usually in the top five. He's five on the list I have up on CBS Sports. He could be six or seven, depending on your list. Um, but this guy has the least production of anybody in the top like seven or eight defensive ends on the board by far. I think he had 4.5 sacks in his all of his years in college. But he's a trait monster. He's a workout machine. He looks like a superhero, and he's exactly the kind of guy they like to take, like an Eric Armstead or a
Oh yeah.
the those big ass hybrid dudes that can play all across a 3-4 defensive front. And didn't do a ton in college, but showed traits, and they developed him in the NFL. So he just feels like a perfect Niner pick to me. I could be off here, but it feels right, so I'm going to roll with it. But I don't mind your pick either at all because I like that guy a lot, Michael Williams.
Okay. All right. Now to my team.
Oh, here we
So,
go, bud. And I had a hard time with this. I can't wait to see what you think
of
here.
course, Jerry Jones is spitting his BS again about he last year was we're all in and they didn't do anything. Now this year we're open for business and we have a lot of substantial trades lined up even for some veterans. So I'm sure nothing will happen.
I love it, Craig. Oh,
He's a senile old man at this point. Okay, so I think I was tempted to go running back, but they got to go. They're going to go receiver. Give somebody on the other side to CD. There's two guys, Ted McMillan and Matthew Golden.
yeah.
And the thing is, I want Golden because he was the fastest guy, the fastest wide receiver. He ran like a 4.29 40,
Yep.
and we need that somebody could take the top off the defense would be great. But I got a feeling it's going to be Ted McMillan. I think they like him more, even though who he reminds me of because he's not super fast, but he's physical. He reminds me of Des Bryant.
Oh, that's great. Well, the big comp I've heard with him a lot is Mike Evans. But Des
So that's
Bryant
kind
makes
of a Des Bryant. That's a Des Bryant kind of comp too.
absolutely no. I hadn't thought about that at all. But going to the Cowboys, if he went there, that would be the comp everybody would be making. That's great. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So, but I would rather have Golden. I want to go on the record and say I want the speed guy more than this guy because he's a lot like. See, I mean, we don't have any speed guys other than like guys that aren't proven or guys that have shown that they're just not good receivers, like Turpin or whatever, who has speed but he just can't catch all that well.
Right. They basically have to get him the ball from like 3 or 4 feet away and let him run. Yeah.
Right. Or let him do some stupid kickoff returns and spinning and dropping the ball and then picking it back up and going for a touchdown.
No doubt. No doubt.
Remember
No
that
doubt.
play? That play was one of my favorites of the year.
He's something, man. Yeah. Now you just figure out a way to get that guy the ball 5 times a game. I don't care if you have to run 5 reverses, and you just he's going to do something with one of them. Um,
So yeah, I'd rather have Golden, but I'm going to go Ted McMillan actually.
Well, this is a fascinating one, man. I was pulling my hair out on this pick, Craig. Like this was one of the hardest ones of the whole draft for me because it makes a ton of sense. I ended up going Ted McMillan. Okay, I'll say that right up front. I had a hard time between him and Golden because you're right; those are the two guys. And The thing is, Golden is a combine riser, and Ted McMillan is a 4-year production guy. So me, I prefer 4-year production guys, but I do like Golden. But check this out: Ted McMillan, the last 2 years in college, I use it. When I say 4-year production guy, I'm so old school. Nobody's 4-year production anymore. Ted McMillan had 2.5 seasons of good production. That's like 4 years in 1982.
Right.
So Ted, the last 2 years, had 90 catches for 1,400. Damn it, the phone. I'm sorry, Craig. Sorry. Here we go. We're good. 90 catches for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns, and 84 catches for 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. Matthew
Yeah,
Golden.
Golden did not have any that kind of production at all, and that's the knock against them is the production is just wasn't there. But
Now,
with that speed, I don't really care. I
well,
just
and now
love the
what?
speed.
With that being said, though, and the one thing you look for in not huge production guys, if you're gonna go first round, because you better be damn sure if you're going first round, is some kind of growth, and he definitely showed that because he had 2 years in a row of 38 catches, and then senior year 58 catches for 987 yards and 17 yards a catch. So he showed growth. So if you want to make a case for him, that helps your case. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I still would prefer him.
Yeah. Hey, I don't blame you. I don't blame you because he's a massive boom guy. You could end up with he's I mean, it's very similar to who's the guy that plays for the Chiefs? Was Worthy, Xavier Worthy.
Yes, yes.
Very, very similar.
So there was a trade that was on one of the ones I was watching today earlier, where they had Miami trading up with Dallas to move up the one pick and they gave Dallas like a third rounder or something, and they took Golden. And in the trade, um, they gave Dallas Tyreek Hill.
Oh, interesting.
It was Tyreek Hill and the 13th pick, and I think like a third rounder for the 12th pick, and like a Dallas third rounder next year, and like a fifth rounder this year or something.
That would be absolutely incredible. I would. I mean, listen. If you want to contend, get back to contending right away. I do it.
That would be very interesting. And
I
then they
think
had them taking Golden.
that. Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, that would be a mind blower. That would be awesome. That would be one of those trades where you're just like your head explodes and it takes a day or two to fully process.
It's not going to happen because Jerry Jones already said we're going to be, you know, very active in the trade market, which means to me that they're not going to be.
Well,
Because
what he'll,
whenever he
what
says the opposite happens.
what he means by that is 3 weeks before training camp, he'll start flinging fifth rounders at 30-year-olds.
Right.
And some of them might pan out, like what's his face, the cornerback that two
Gilmore.
years ago. Yes,
Gilmore, yeah.
yep. But it's so funny, man. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to throw at you here, because there's a player in this draft that I really like a lot, and it reminds me very much of Micah Parsons coming out. He's not as highly regarded, not that far off, but not nearly as super prospect as Micah. But he also has some injury concerns coming out, and that's why eventually I took him off the board for Dallas because I thought, man, maybe Jerry might see Micah in this guy, and that's Jahad Campbell.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Now Jahad played, mostly like middle linebacker at Alabama, but they let him rush some last year, and he had 5 sacks in limited rushing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of talk, much like the Penn State usage with Micah Parsons, that he could actually translate better into an edge guy in the NFL. So I thought, man, that could be a really slick spot for him, but the injury concerns combined with the receiver making so much sense, I ended up going Ted McMillan. But I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised at all, and I wouldn't quibble a whole lot if you went Matthew Golden. I like Ted McMillan, but it's whisper by a whisper.
Yep, yep. All right, so that moves us to Miami.
Okay, what are you thinking here?
Well, I was thinking they might go the Emin the safety,
Mm-hmm.
or Barron, the cornerback,
Mm-hmm.
but I went with a different cornerback. I went with is it Will Johnson?
That's so funny because that's exactly what I have.
Oh, really?
We're getting far down to have same thoughts here, my man. I love it. That's awesome. I can't believe you have the same guy. Yeah, Will Johnson, and let me say this real quick, and then you say whatever you want to say. Will Johnson has been hurt by the offseason draft process as much or more than any other player.
Yep.
And I love him as a player. That's why I still have him going this high.
Yep. Well, they're going to lose their who's the corner there?
They're talking about trading Jalen Ramsey. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, thinking about trading Jalen Ramsey, and this is the replacement.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And they have a need even if they don't trade Ramsey. So it makes perfect sense. The thing about Will Johnson, this is going to be, and I want everybody out there that listens to this, and let's do this too. We need to revisit this pick in a year or two because this is the perfect prime example of off-season numbers versus on-field production. Will Johnson is dinged up and he hasn't been able to do much of the offseason process. And the prediction, people are estimating that he would run the 40 in the high 4.5s. Now, how they came to that conclusion, I'm really not sure. But so he's getting dinged up for a 40 time he didn't run. He's also getting dinged up for being dinged up, and being talked also about not being a man guy, being a zone guy, which doesn't matter in Miami. I was making sure I was putting him on a team that runs zone heavily, so he fits the system for sure. And so this is a number one in round one to keep your eye on if you're a on field versus draft process person. This is a real interesting one, Craig.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree.
Love it, and I'm with you 100%. That's their pick for me.
All right, another one that was pretty easy because everybody's saying it. There was only two selections for the Colts. They were both tight ends. One was Tyler Warren, the other one was Loveland, and that's where I landed. It was Loveland.
We are right in lockstep again, my man. Right there. Absolutely. I can't believe we had
Everybody's saying
two.
that's where they're going is tight end, like no doubt.
I can't believe we have this many picks. That's three in a row at 12, 13, and 14. That's wild. That's awesome.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. It's a perfect match. They have two quarterbacks. You know, who knows who's going to play for them this year between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. I think we're going to see both of them, and because neither of them are good enough to hold on to the job right now. Um, and quarterback's best friend is a tight end. Man, give him a security blanket.
Absolutely. All right. Well, then let's just keep going. Let's keep
Let's
trucking
do it.
along here. So we're at Atlanta now, and this is a guy that you've already used, and it was Shamar Stewart,
Okay, and that makes sense.
the edge rusher from Texas A&M. That's where I ended up putting him was with Atlanta.
That absolutely makes sense. And I am going to go. I'm actually. I'm going to make a last second audible because I like the guy you picked earlier over the guy I was putting there. I'm going to go Michael Williams from Georgia here. Um, I was going to go Mike Green from Marshall, but I'm going to switch him to where I had Michael Williams going.
Okay.
I've been hearing a lot of Michael Williams buzz, and I didn't adjust for it in the draft in my pick there, so I want to now. So yeah, we're going to make it Michael Williams to Atlanta 15. We both have the exact same idea in mind, just different guys.
Yep. Yep. Same team, same position. All right. Now Arizona. That's where I landed Golden at.
Okay,
I put Golden in Arizona.
to team with Harrison Jr. That would make sense for sure. Absolutely.
That's a hell of a duo right there.
That would be pretty sick, man. That would be pretty sick. And he's a absolute right compliment to Harrison because Harrison's not a burner. He's not slow, but he's not a burner. He's more of a super route runner.
Yep.
And Golden would be a great compliment to that, man. I love that idea. Um, I'm gonna have the best interior lineman in the draft go here because it's a big need. I have it as a big need for the Cardinals. I also have wide receiver right there with that, so your pick makes sense. I thought about that for sure, but I'm gonna go guard to keep Kyler Murray upright. Tyler Booker from Alabama, who on everything I've seen is pretty. There's one other guy who is some people consider close to him, but most people have him heads and shoulders as the number one guard.
Okay. Yep. I have him listed there. I saw that there was more than at least one person who had him going to Arizona as well, and all the things that I watched and looked at.
Right. I think both of our picks make a lot of sense. They would either one. It would be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
All right. So
Oh boy,
we'll go
buddy.
to 17 to Cincinnati.
And the perennially disappointing Bengals, the perennial slow starting Bengals. What are they going to do to right the ship over there?
Well, I have They got to go defensive side of the ball, obviously.
I'm with you.
So I have Malachi Starks, the safety.
Okay. Yep. Absolutely makes perfect sense. Safety is a huge need for them. Um, yeah, I wouldn't have any problem with that pick at all. I went a different direction. This is actually the pick I swapped out Michael Williams for. So Mike Green, the edge from Marshall, is going to go here.
All right.
And Mike Green, by the way, let me pull up the stats while I'm talking for a second here. But if you're not familiar with Mike Green, listeners, he played at Marshall, so he's not he's not in the freaking SEC getting talked about all day every day on ESPN. Um, but this dude is a freaking player, man. He's 6'4", 248, so he fits either system, but he's like kind of like a perfect 4-3 defensive end. Um, and where are the damn stats I'm looking for? Here it is. Okay. So he started at University of Virginia. They didn't play him, so he transferred to Marshall. First year there, 4.5 sacks. Last year, 17.
Wow.
Yeah. So dude knows how to get to the quarterback. He's in everybody's top 5 or 6, and a lot of people's top 3 or 4 edge guys, and I like him a lot. So I'll give him to Cincinnati. You filled a great need at safety with Starks, and edge is just as big a need. So I think we both did some justice for him.
Yep. Yep.
Love it.
They have needs, obviously, on
They
defense.
have needs. They
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 have
have
needs on
big
defense.
needs. They have big needs. Yeah, yeah. Offense is fine. Defense, figuring out how to show up in September, another need.
Yes. Instead of starting out 1-3 or 0-4.
Man, I mean, nobody wants to play that team in the playoffs every year, but they just can't get there.
Yeah. So sometimes they sneak in and they're a problem, but if they don't get in, it's because of that slow start. Um. Okay, Seattle. Another
Okay.
one where there wasn't too much difference on who they were taking. I saw 3 of the 5 all had the same guy, so I
Oh,
just
that's
went with
interesting.
him.
Okay, who was that?
Gray Zabel,
Okay,
offensive lineman.
that's the other guard I was talking about. Absolutely. Makes a ton of sense. I wouldn't argue that at all. I wouldn't argue that at all. It's not what I did, but I like it as soon as you said it. What I did is another big need for them, and that's cornerback. There's a corner in this draft that I actually like as much or more than Will Johnson, and that is Jahdae Barron. If he was the same height as Will Johnson, I would easily like him more. But he's 5'11" to Will Johnson 6'2", so it's splitting hairs for me. But Jahdae Barron is just a really exciting prospect to me. He's super fast. He's a perfect zone quarterback. Seattle played zone 84% of defensive snaps last year, so he fits the system perfectly. So I'm going to go Jahdae Barron, even though I like your pick a lot too.
Yeah, that offensive line they gotta protect as best they can. But of course, your pick is absolutely makes perfect sense. You know what? At this point in the league, cornerback is like always a need for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're playing
Seems
3
like
of them almost every snap.
yeah, everybody needs a corner.
Everybody. The Eagles took 2 in the first 2 rounds this year, and they may take another one this year.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Love it.
So we move on to Tampa Bay.
Yes.
I'm not going to be able to say my pick's name.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Trying to think of who
It's
that would be. There's a few.
edge rusher from BC,
Yes.
Donovan
Okay.
Azaraka.
Yep.
Azaraku.
Yep. Yep. Yes. A solid attempt, my man. I'm not sure on that one myself. I know the player. And yeah, Donovan Ezaraku will go with. I like it. Yeah. Talk about production, my man. I'm going to pull up his stats while you talk about this pick.
Well, everything I saw from Tampa Bay was on the defensive side of the ball. All
Yep.
5 drafts had them picking defense. Um, some of them, one of them had Johnson lasting this long, and I haven't taken him. Sorry. Another one had Starks. Another one had Campbell. But I went with Donovan. Well, I mean, obviously I couldn't go with Johnson because we already picked him, and we already picked Starks as well. But Izaraku is who I ended up with.
Love it, man. Now I dropped my phone, so I'm coming to get it, but can you hear me in the meantime?
I can.
Awesome. Okay. So now we just talked about Mike Green's productivity in college. Well, Ezaraku got had a down junior year, but his sophomore year, 7.5 sacks showed real promise. I think he got dinged up his junior year. But last year, my goodness, dude, 16.5 sacks playing for Boston College.
Wow.
So him and Mike Green are the two biggest producers in college. If you like production, they're your guys.
Yep. Cool. Very cool.
Awesome. Well, I love that pick for them. I like that a lot. It's and now where I went is one of the other guys you mentioned, and one of my favorite players in the draft. Again, I talked about him for your Cowboys, and injury concerns are the only reason he's not going higher, and that is Jahad Campbell. I think this is a team that knows how to use a linebacker. It really is,
Yep.
and I think he's going to end up being a linebacker who gets sacks. So I don't think he's going to end up being a full time edge guy playing for Tampa. I think he's going to be a linebacker who rushes, 30 to 60% of the snaps, depending on the game. So we'll see. But I really like this guy.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I definitely could see that.
They both make sense. I like both the picks. They really do.
All right.
Now,
So
you talk
now,
about consensus picks, my man. Let's talk about this one.
all right, Denver. I mean, they want to run the ball.
Yeah, there's one pick I've seen here more than any other by far, and I'm guessing it's the same thing you saw.
Marion Hampton.
Boom. Boom. It makes so much sense. The only thing that keeps this from happening is if somebody takes him before them.
Right, right. Because there isn't a. I mean, there's a couple other guys after that, but not really. I would kind of hold off on some of those other guys. Other people I saw them taking was a receiver, was two receivers. So it was all offense for them on all the drafts I saw. But it was Hampton on three of them, and then two receivers on the other two.
I did see some receiver too. That's interesting. You saw that too. And by the way, I have the NFL Network on in the background, and one of their experts is talking right now about Tyler Shuck being a potential surprise first round pick.
Yeah, I told you, man. He's getting so much steam. It's crazy.
I love it. I love it. That would be so fascinating if a 26-year-old 1 year starter goes in the first round. I can't wait to see if that happens. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on this guy. I didn't see him play a ton. I've watched some highlights, but not enough to feel good about how I feel about him. You know what I mean?
And it is
So
Shuck. It is Shuck.
I think so. I think that's how. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
How does GH give you the K sound? I don't understand.
Yeah, dude. Try you want to parse the English language? That'll be a 74-hour podcast. I mean, there are the. I don't know how anybody that grew up not speaking English ever learns it because there are so many inconsistencies. It's insane. So
Yep.
yeah, Tyler Shuck. I have no idea, man. Shaw maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah,
All right. Well, speaking of quarterback, we're going to move on to Pittsburgh here at 21.
there we
And I
go.
think this is where they go quarterback. And this is where I have Jackson Dart going.
And this is where I had Jackson Dart going, and I will now have Shador Sanders.
Okay. Makes sense. I think they're definitely going quarterback.
They have to. They have to. They have a wonderful veteran who's an all-time great who has become the most annoying off-season person in the history of anything who isn't going to make a decision for at least another month or two. And they have to have, right now it's Mason Rudolph and nobody else on that team. And by the way, their GM said he's not guaranteeing any rounds, but he said they are going to come out of this draft with two quarterbacks.
Wow. Okay.
Now that could be the free agency process too after the draft. I mean the undrafted guys that get signed as free agents also. You know what I mean? It
Right.
could be
Right.
one guy gets drafted, one guy be like that. But they need two quarterbacks. They have four roster spot or three. They have three roster spots to fill at quarterback,
Wow.
and one of them could be Aaron Rodgers, but they still have two more.
All right.
Love
Well,
it.
now, depending on what Pittsburgh does, I would say the Chargers are very ripe for a trade partner for somebody like the Giants trying to get back in to take Shuck.
Oh, that's a great call.
if Shuck is going to go in the first round and somebody trades to get back in the first round to take him, I think it's right here with the Chargers.
That's a great call. I love that call. Yeah,
Now,
that makes perfect sense.
I did not put any trades in my draft, but I'm just saying, be on the lookout for that. I would not be surprised if that happens. Maybe not the Giants, but somebody moving up.
I love that. No, that's a great call, man. I think that's awesome.
All right, but for the Chargers themselves, if they stay here, I ended up going with Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan.
Well, buddy, at number 22, it's pretty impressive that we have the exact same person going.
Wow!
Now, and listen, this is one of the picks I like more than any other pick in this whole first round for a couple reasons. One, they lost, I think it's Puha, their giant defensive tackle. I forget, I don't know if that's the right name, but I think I'm right on that guy. And a Jim Harbaugh defense needs a giant man in the middle to
Well,
plug
plus
stuff up.
The Michigan connection.
He recruited this guy at Michigan and called him a gift from the football gods.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that exact quote as well.
So, I mean, this just makes so much. The only other pick that makes as much sense is if Colston Loveland fell to them,
Right, which he's not going to.
which no chance. That was a possibility 3 months ago. I don't think there's any chance in hell now. So, yeah, man, that makes as much sense as any pick in the entire draft to me.
Totally agree. Actually, the next one for me makes a lot of sense as well. Talk about filling a need. Green Bay. I have Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State, going there. Talk about a need for a wide receiver.
I'm with you 100% on the need. Here's the issue. Much like the Eagles taking first round linebackers, which I think hasn't happened since 1984, it's been over 20 years since the Green Bay Packers have taken a receiver in the first round. So I love it. And if I were them, I'd take that card if you wrote that name and sprint out of that room that doesn't like to take first round receivers and let them try and tackle me. But because of that history, and I know I've watched mockers over the years go try and give linebackers to the Eagles in the first round and just laughed, because I know it's not going to happen. I don't know how dedicated Green Bay is to that. I mean, Eagles' great dedication to the linebacker thing goes back to the 80s. Green Bay, it's only the early 2000s. But I'm going to roll with it. And even though I love your pick, and take Walter Nolan, who is one of the biggest wild cards in this draft, defensive tackle from Ole Miss, who, by all accounts, is one of the most talented, top 5 talent, not even close to first round production. But he's also, I'm pretty sure, is one of the guys that got invited to the draft, and everybody has him going in the first round.
Yeah, yep. I have him later on. Yep.
So yeah, for Jordan Love's sake, I hope they do what you said, but I don't know. They're just one of those teams that just refuses to do it. So we'll see.
All right.
He is not one of the guys that was invited. I take that back. There were only
Oh,
17 invitees,
yeah.
or
I was going to
17.
say that. That seems like that's kind of odd that he would be one of the ones going in.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you want to talk odd? What the hell is Jalen Milroe doing there? So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm trying to make sense of this thing. I mean, Shamar Stewart, my traits guy that wasn't productive in college, who I've seen anywhere from 2 or 3 on edge guys, all the way down to 7 or 8, is one of the 17.
Weird.
I know.
That's weird. Some guys obviously just don't want to go anyway.
Yeah, like Shedeur Sanders declined. I mean, I think they put it out there before the invites even went out that he wasn't going to go no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So yeah, that's a really interesting one, Craig, because receiver would be huge for them. We'll see if they can actually pull the trigger on a receiver in Green Bay. I love it.
They need some. All
They
right.
they really do. They need one stud. They have like 4 guys that are solid, like 2s and 3s.
Yeah, they don't have a number one.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of dudes running around. And then the closest they have to a number one can't stay on the field for more than 3 weeks at a time. The guy that keeps injuring his hammy over and over again, whose name I'm blanking on.
Right. I am too.
Yeah, people know who we mean. The fantasy players out there that have drafted him and been bitterly disappointed.
And there's a lot of them.
That's That's
All right.
true. That's a fair point. I love
Yeah,
it. All right.
on to Minnesota.
Oh man, this is a fascinating one too.
Yes. With their new quarterback, their new young quarterback, I think they need to protect him. I think they need to invest in that offensive line, even though it's not terrible. I have them getting Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon.
Okay, love it, love it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. That makes a ton of sense. Um, I have also the two biggest needs I have for them are the one you just filled and cornerback. And I went corner, although I could definitely see the offensive line with the young quarterback. That makes a ton of sense. But there's a guy out there that I really, really like. I would be thrilled if he fell to the Eagles, although the Eagles probably won't be there at 32. They'll be the up or down, but I would bet they won't be there. And that is a guy named Maxwell Harrison,
Oh,
cornerback from
yeah.
Kentucky.
Yep.
Top 40 time at the combine this year, 4.28, but he's also a production guy. He's a real player. He's not a combine wonder. He was on everybody's radar before this. He was probably going to be a high second round, maybe pick before this, but he's probably worked his way up into the first round now. So I like this guy a lot. He's got a massive upside and he played well in college. So there's production to lean on with that speed. So I like your offensive line pick, but this is another big need, so I'm going to stick with it and go with Maxwell Harrison. But I like yours too.
Yeah. And cornerback that makes a lot of sense, too. All
Right
right.
on.
Okay. So now we can move on to Houston.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of names here. And actually, one of them is already taken, but the one I picked is still out there that we haven't. Well, I think we might have talked about him, but regardless, I have Josh Simmons, the left tackle,
Okay. Yeah, that
and
makes perfect sense.
they need all the help they can get on the offensive line because he's just running for his life.
There is no position. I've seen wide receiver go to Houston a lot in mock drafts, which drives me insane. Um, there is no position to even consider other than offensive line. Their offensive line was as bad as the Giants.
Yeah.
And they have a quarterback that went from looking like a future Hall of Famer to looking pretty mediocre last year, and that's all because of that offensive line. And if they do anything but address the offensive line, they're insane. And I don't know what to say. Now I went with a different guy, a guy who I've heard could go as high. By the way, coming out today, I heard that the guy I'm going to throw out there could go as high as number 5 or no, number 6 to the Raiders. All right,
Oh.
which would blow my mind. Now, I thought I had him going too low based on what I've heard the last week or two, but there's been a lot of varying opinions on this guy. Same position. I'm going to go Kelvin Banks from
Yep.
Texas.
He was the next guy that I had.
Right on. So, and yeah, the next tackle I'll have going is Josh Simmons. So we're right there. And either one of them, I don't care. Just give them offensive line,
Get one of
and
them.
with their
They
next
gotta.
3 picks, give them more offensive line.
They've got to.
It's the biggest glaring weakness on a playoff team that I can think of last season.
Yep.
I can't think of a playoff team with a more glaring weakness.
No. Nope. Nope. He was running for his life. He had the. I would love to know, like how much time each quarterback had when they dropped back to throw the ball before they was under pressure. I bet you he was the worst in the league.
I bet either that or whoever was playing for the Giants.
Right.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And the difference in their records is insane. You know, you would expect a crappy team like the Giants to have a massive glaring hole. You would not expect a playoff team, a division winning playoff team. You know,
Right. Right.
so
All right.
yeah, I'm with you 100%. Offensive line all day long.
Well, the Rams.
Okay, now this is an interesting one, huh?
Yes, it is. It's somebody that you already picked, though.
Okay,
Is
who'd you
who
go
I
with?
ended up with, and that's John Campbell, the
Oh,
linebacker.
absolutely, absolutely. They'd be thrilled with that, and the linebackers are a huge need, so it fits perfectly. Yep, absolutely. I love that. Now, this is where I'm putting my neck out there, my friend, because now I can't remember if I said this on the pod or if we talked off air. I think I said it, but I'm going to say it again. Jalen Milroe is the most surprising of the 17 people who accepted invites to the NFL draft tonight. I did not expect to have him in round 1 in my mock, and I didn't see a whole lot of it until that came out. And then I started seeing a lot of it. And there are a couple different teams. I originally had him going to the Steelers because that just felt so much like Cordell Stewart revisited. I wanted to do it, but it's a little too high. And it's just with Shador Sanders, with that Jackson Dart news that came out today and the fall of Shador Sanders, I couldn't do it. But this is it because a lot of people think he could be a slash guy until it's quarterback time. I don't know if I buy into that. But in the meantime, maybe he could help Matt Stafford out in another way. This guy, man, his 40 time is was 4.37 at his pro day. Do you know what
Wow.
quarterbacks in the history of the NFL have a better 40 time than that? Two guys.
Michael
Michael
Vick
Vick, who has the fastest in the history of the combine at 4.33. Do you want to guess the other guy?
was it Lamar?
You got it. 4.34. And Anthony Richardson was 4.43. So the
Wow.
only three quarterbacks in the 4.3s in the history of now, Melrose didn't do it at the combine. It was a pro day. So it doesn't count in the combine annals, but it does
Either way,
count
the
as
point is he's fast.
he's fast as a son of a gun. He's also 6'2", 217, so he's not a little guy. He's Jalen Hurts size. So this guy, again, I was not planning on doing this a week ago, not even close. But with all the news buzzing and the fact that the NFL has just flat out refused to try and put another quarterback in an Aaron Rodgers situation since that happened. So if they invited him, not being sure that he's going to go in the first round, it would be going against everything they've done since that draft. So I'm just going to shove him in there where it kind of fits and see what happens. Jalen Milroe to the Rams.
Nice. All right. I like it. I like it a lot.
Right on,
Would
right
be
on.
interesting.
It would be. It would be really interesting.
All righty. So now we're going to move on to Baltimore.
Okay.
And, they're just going to keep getting the edge rushers and keep turning them into great players and continue to have a really good defense as they always do. And this is where I have Mike Green going for Marshall.
Love it. And his 17 sacks take him right to Baltimore. Baltimore in your draft, and I have a similar guy in mind. But in your draft, they do what they always do, and they just sit there and they get a great player.
Yep.
You know, they're one of the best drafting teams since I've been following the draft. Certainly since Ozzie Newsome was hired. That's when the greatness of their drafting began, and it has continued in his retirement. And they are just incredible. I love that pick. I would have done it if he was still there in mine, and because he wasn't, I went with another edge, another one of my favorite guys, another guy I wouldn't mind if he fell to the Eagles, James Pierce from Tennessee.
He was the other guy I had.
Get out! That's awesome.
It was either him or I just basically made a choice to go with Green instead of Pierce, but they were the two that I was debating.
I love that, man. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, because and like I said, I like Green a little better by a whisper. So I would have done that if I hadn't had him going earlier. But since he was gone, it was Pierce time. Um. So yeah, now Pierce is Pierce. Now we read some big numbers from the guy from BC and Mike Green. But what is almost as impressive to me, maybe even as impressive, is James Pierce putting up 9.5 and 7.5 sacks in the SEC the last 2 years.
Yes, he did.
Level of competition matters, and there's no better level than the SEC. And if you put up those kind of numbers in the SEC, there's a good chance of your success in the NFL. So I'm going to go Pierce Jr. there. I love your pick too. Again, if he had been there, that would have been my pick. So
Yeah,
love it,
they're both perfect fits.
love it.
All right, well, I told you I was debating between Mike Green and James Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
So Detroit's up next, and I gave them James Pierce.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's really funny, man, because I had to go edge for the Lions after what happened when Aiden Hutchinson got hurt last year. Plus, then they traded for I forget the name of the guy they traded for, old school Zadarius Smith, um, who they then let walk. So they have Aiden Hutchinson and not much else. And they found out what happens when Aiden Hutchinson gets hurt. They had nothing other than a guy they had to trade for. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they need edge. They have to have the backup stuff. Now I had to dig deep here because I had a lot of edge guys going in the first round. So I went with a guy. I'm curious where you what you thought of him or where he was on your list.
If
Nick
you say the guy that I have
Scourton.
next, the next guy I have, Let me guess. Let me guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go for it.
Texas A&M,
Yes,
Scarton or
that's it.
Scouten.
Yeah. That's awesome because there's a lot of differing opinions on edge guys, man. So you could have given me any one of like 4 or 5 guys there, and I wouldn't have been like, oh, that's silly. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
Scourton is the guy for me because not only does he rush the passer, but Dan Campbell, he showed with the Aiden Hutchinson pick, and just in general with his defensive end choices since he's been there, he likes guys that can defend the run too. And Scourton is a complete defensive end; he does both, so he fits their system along with being the next logical guy on my list. So it was a nice fit. So Nick Scourton to Detroit, and I love your James Pierce. He would have again. He would have been my guy if I hadn't had some guys go earlier.
Yep. Yep. Love it. I think all my picks. Oh no, there's one more pick that I have that we haven't talked about. But for 29 for Washington, I got them getting a quarterback, corner, Hairston.
Okay, okay, that's awesome. That
You,
makes
you,
perfect sense. That's the guy I had going earlier to where did I have him going? Minnesota. And I like that guy a lot. I really do. I think he's one of the more exciting prospects in the cornerback draft this year. And cornerback, by the way, is one of the deeper positions, along with edge and tight end in this draft this year. So that's a great pick. I had there's a guy. I did my whole mock draft, and then I realized I forgot to look at the 17 invitees. And what's
right.
funny is when I looked, and let me make sure I'm right. Yeah. Um, when I looked, I had 16 of 17 of those guys going anyway.
Okay.
But the one guy I didn't, and even though I like him a lot, I just had a really hard time putting Matthew Golden in the first round. Not because I don't like him, but because every time I came to a team that had a receiver need, I had a bigger need somewhere else in my mind. So originally for Washington, I had a cornerback going Siobhan Ravel Jr., who's a 6'2" corner from East Carolina. But I went back and crossed him out and gave them Matthew Golden,
Okay. Makes sense. Give them
which
another weapon.
again, I mean, Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, and Matthew Golden for Jaden Daniels. It seems like an embarrassment of riches, and I hope it doesn't happen.
So you gave them golden. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. I think he's gonna. It feels like he's gonna go higher now, but I had to get him in the first round somewhere, and I couldn't figure it out other than that. So
All right. Now to Buffalo, this is the guy that we have not mentioned yet.
okay,
And let's see if you can get this. Is a safety.
a safety. Now you had 2 safeties going already, correct?
At least one.
Did you have? I know you had the guy from Georgia, Malachi Starks. Oh
Yep.
no! I know who it is. I know who it is because you mentioned him as a possibility, but you didn't go with him, and that would be Nick Iman Worry.
Yes.
Boom, who I like a lot. Talk about traits, man. A 6'3", 220 safety. Let's go.
Yep. That's the safety. That's who I got going to Buffalo. Who do you have?
That, by the way, I'll give you the whole list, a very brief list at the end of our 32 picks. But he was one of my top 5 guys I left out of the first round. One of
Okay.
my yeah. So I love that you got him in. It makes a lot of sense, and it's a need. What I did was go because they have a big defensive line need. So I went with my favorite defensive tackle left, and that is Derek Harmon from Oregon.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. I have him actually as a possibility for Philadelphia.
And I would love it. I would have absolutely no problem with that pick for Philly at all. I would love it. Plus, the
Right.
Eagles, one of the best defensive tackles the Eagles ever had was a guy named Andy Harmon back in the '90s. And I don't think he's any relation. I forgot to look that up, but I don't think he is. By the way, there's a guy named Chris Paul Jr. in this draft that is not related to Chris Paul, the basketball player.
Was Andy Harmon related to Angie Harmon?
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. Yes, yes.
She
Oh,
was real
that's so
popular
awesome.
for like 2 or 3 years. She was like everybody was all about her, and then she kind of just disappeared.
Oh, that's great, man. Angie Harmon. That's awesome.
She was
So, okay.
she was on like a cop show or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. And wasn't she married to Jason Seacrest?
No, Jason Sehorn.
Seahorn?
Yeah, the Giants kick returner, safety kick returner, played offensive defense and blew his knee out as a kick returner and never was seen or heard from again.
Yes, 100%. That's the guy.
Yeah,
That's
she
who I
was
was
very
trying to
good,
think
but
of.
she I think she was on like a Law and Order or CSI, one of those.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And then she was on Rizzoli and Isles.
Yes, she was.
I don't know
Yes.
why that. I never saw an episode of it, but the name just came to me in a flash. That's awesome. Oh, I love it, man. Speaking
Oh,
of old shows, I found the original. There was only 8 episodes of this show, Craig. But do you remember a show? I've been pining for it since I was a wee lad because they took it away from me after 8 episodes. The TV show Manimal.
Manimal. Don't have any recollection of that.
It was kind of like they made the movie Beastmaster and they made the main character, they made him a civilized society Beastmaster, and he only ever turned into a panther and a hawk.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
No, I
It's
never
it,
saw
it it's the most glorious 8 episodes of schlock TV ever made.
it.
Oh, I love
80,
it.
80 schlock.
100%. It was like 83 or 4, something like that, right in that zone. Yep. Oh, I
Wow.
love it. So yeah, so we did our Buffalo. Who did now you had the safety from South Carolina going, and I had Derek Harmon,
Right,
defensive
right, right.
tackle.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So Kansas City.
Mhm.
Is there any doubt where they're going?
Not in my mind, my friend, and apparently not yours either.
Yeah.
only question is who, like specifically.
Right. So they have to protect Patrick Mahomes, and
Yep.
I have them getting offensive tackle from Texas, Calvin Banks.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely makes sense. I had him going earlier. I had the
Yep.
same thought process, and I have a guy you had going earlier, Josh Simmons.
Yep. I mean, this is an absolute like slam dunk in terms of position they're going to go. Maybe not the exact guys, but
Absolutely.
they're going to address this position. They have to.
If Kansas City, there's 2 teams in the league that I would bet a lot that would go offensive line, and that's Kansas City and Houston. If they don't, I don't understand anything about football.
Right. Right. Or they don't.
Yeah, right, right. And maybe they feel like maybe it's one of those things where they feel strongly they can get some guy in the second or third round. But man, these are 2 teams. One made it to the freaking Super Bowl and couldn't keep their quarterback off his back, and one made it to the won a division and made it to the playoffs and couldn't keep their quarterback off his back. So it doesn't make sense to do anything else to me. And obviously you too. I mean, we're definitely on the same page there, man.
Yep. Okay. Last
All
team
right.
is your team. Why don't you go first? I've been going first the entire time. Who do you got?
All right. Well, in my draft, a guy you had going way earlier was I had lucky enough to fall to the Eagles. Now I don't know if this is going to happen, but I did see it in a mock or two. And if it happens, they are going to be thrilled, and so will I. And that is Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because they lost the safety, right?
Yeah, yeah, they lost. They traded C.J. Gardner Johnson to the Texans.
Right, right, right.
And
Okay.
they do have Sidney Brown, a third round draft pick from 2 years ago, who they like, but he's been a little injury prone his first couple years, so I doubt they're going to go into the season with just him as their starting second safety. So it would make a lot of sense. Safety's definitely on everybody's radar for the Eagles. So's, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they went edge or offensive line because Howie does that like 70 some percent of the time in the first round anyway. So it could be edge or O line, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least. But this fits a need perfectly. Like a player that probably isn't going to drop to 32 dropped in my mock. So if that happens to happen, I think they jump all over it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree.
Now I would
Um,
love to hear the outside perspective on what you think they're going to do. Lay it on me. I'm really love
well,
hearing this.
somebody that you've already had. I was trying to find where it was, but I can't seem to find it. But I have them getting no one.
Oh yeah, that absolutely, absolutely. I've seen that a couple times. Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
If
I
he
mean,
happens to fall, it makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely. I can see either one of these guys being there for them, though. Starks can be there.
Yes, somebody good's going to fall. Like this is one of those drafts where I wouldn't mind if they just sit right where they are and pull a Ravens and just take the best player that falls to them because there's going to be some like there's not a whole lot of percentage in trading up this year to me.
No.
Um, although that's the main buzz is that's what Howie's going to do because did you realize this, man? This is wild. This is Howie working the draft the last few years. They have 20 picks in the next two drafts. 20 picks. You start with 7.
Yeah. Unbelievable. All the
So
moves
they
he's made. He just gets equity. He just gets equity all the time.
no doubt. And therefore, a lot of people use that as their determination to say he's got ammunition and it makes sense for them to move up. But I just don't think this is a great move up draft. Now, if you never know. If, for instance, I don't know, let me just throw out geez, who would be somebody that would be really okay. Let's say either Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren starts slipping somehow, which I don't think has a chance in hell of happening, but let's say it does, because something unusual happens every year, so it could. Um, that's somebody I could see them maybe trading up for. Because there's
Yep.
all this talk. Have you heard all this talk about them trying to move or possibly moving Dallas Goedert?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have heard.
And even if they don't, they're going to take a tight, like a decent
They might want to just
tight
move
end.
off of him anyway.
Yeah, yeah, because he's very good, but he's so injury prone. And he's 30 years old now. Like he turned 30 overnight. Like it seems like they just drafted him 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? um. So yeah. So I mean, remember the draft day when it was all the Eagles were super slick for hopping over the Cowboys to take him?
Yep, I remember that.
And he's been good, but it's not like they've been shoving him up the Cowboys' butt for 6 years ever since. You know what I mean?
No, he, like you said though, he's been solid.
He's been very good. Like he's the reason they traded Zach Ertz at 30 years old. You know what I
Right.
mean? And he's been very good. It's just
And
if
by
he
the way,
wasn't injury. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No,
Did I
not
say
at all.
Will Nolan? I meant Walter Nolan.
Oh, I missed that. Absolutely, Walter Nolan. You nailed it.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah. So anyway, I think I was at the end of my my Eagle tight end rant, but it just the point is a lot of people are talking about them possibly moving up. I don't love the idea unless it's for somebody like that that's dropping that is dramatically awesome. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
Not
Yep.
just for like one of the 7 interchangeable edge guys after the top one or two. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think somebody moving up for a quarterback is possible.
Yes.
Eagles, just because that's what they do, is possible.
Yep.
I guess I'll say Dallas because that's what he's saying, but I don't put any stock into it at all. I'm not expecting it at all. But
It would be surprising. Yeah.
other than that, maybe um, somebody makes a trade with Jacksonville or the Raiders to move up.
Oh. While we were talking, something came up. Nothing happened, but at least it was interesting. Let me just find my note real quick
Possibly New
here.
Orleans, I could see moving.
This is on CBS.com, CBSSports.com, and it came up as we were doing the podcast. Rumor Jaguars trying to make last second move to move up to number 2 and draft Travis Hunter.
Oh, jeez.
How about that, dude?
That means Genty goes to the Raiders.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Cleveland.
Right. Or Cleveland.
Or Cleveland, right?
Maybe Cleveland wants him and they yeah.
Because Chubb is sitting out there at 30 years old as a free agent right now. They don't have a running back.
Right. And he was not good when he came back last year.
No, and so yeah, that's I mean, he's going to sign somewhere on a 1-year prove it deal, and be lucky to ever come anywhere close to where he ever was again. So yeah, that would be freaking wild, dude. If Janty ended up in Cleveland after all this discussion, wow.
Oh, all right. Well, it's going to be
Oh,
very interesting. I'm ready for it tonight.
one other thing I wanted to mention, Craig, of talking about movers and shakers in the draft. To me, also another team to be on high alert is the Bears, and here's why. The Bears have not only do they have pick 10, which we discussed in length, but they also have in round 2 they have pick 39 and 41, and they also have 72 in round 3.
Right. So they can definitely move up.
They could be if they want to, they can for sure. Who knows? But they are in a prime spot. Even if they don't, if they just sit there and take 10, 39, and 41, they have a really good chance to get 3 really impactful players.
Yeah, and we like what they did last year too. So good on them.
Absolutely. I mean, the Bears have been floundering forever. It's really cool to see them have a chance to finally get somewhere. My poor buddy Keith has bought and burned about 7 first round draft picks jerseys since starting with Cade McNown in the late '90s.
Yep. Oh, and I don't know what pick he's going to do, but Seth Rollins from WWE is going to announce one of their picks.
Get the heck out of
Yeah,
here!
he's a huge Bears fan.
That's awesome. They did that in round 2 was the celebrity pick announcements last year. He might announce 2.
Yeah.
Ha ha! I can't wait to see what he wears.
Yeah, because his suits are outrageous.
So awesome.
I wonder if Paul Heyman will be with him.
Yeah, right. Oh,
He's the
best heel.
new. He's the new monster heel. He's the new guy.
As you said, one of the best swerves. Oh, that was something, man.
That was perfect. It was funny. For WrestleMania day one, I thought was pretty mid and ho hum for the
Completely
card
agree.
itself. But then the main event saved it because the main event was awesome.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And then day two was the opposite, where the card was really good. All the matches were really good, and then the main event was kind of ho hum.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we had the
So
added fun excitement though of watching Stone Cold crash his 4-wheeler,
yes,
and that woman insanely overreacting.
yes, she's gonna probably try to sue them or something.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
but
After the
whatever.
negotiations as we speak. But but it was funny. It was knowing that everybody's okay. It was just really funny.
Yep, and he went up the wrong way too. Did you see that video?
I heard about it. I didn't see the video.
There's a video where he's coming. He's on the side of the ramp, obviously, because he's
Mhm.
got the four wheeler, and he misses the ramp to go up on the stage to go down to the ring. He just goes right by it, and then he tries to back up, and he gets stuck. Because apparently, from the time the glass broke and his music hit, it was like 40 seconds before he appeared.
Oh, that's a
And the
riot.
reason why is because he missed the ramp.
Oh, that's priceless, man. Oh
Oh,
god. Maybe
silly.
that's why he wasn't in Philly last year. Maybe he was just walking around the bowels of the stadium trying to figure out where to get in.
Like Spinal Tap, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I was just made that reference the other day. Nobody knew what I was talking about. That's awesome. You do.
Yeah, it was good though. WrestleMania is always good. I always enjoy it.
No doubt.
I always watch, and it was a good time. It was fun. And I tell you what, on Raw the next night, you see who joined them?
No, because I'm collecting on my DVR. What? Tell me though. I
Uh,
don't mind.
in the main event, or not the main event, but the last part of the show was Seth and Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman talking
Mhm.
about now he's with him and he's the new number one guy in the company or the new face of the entire industry. Seth, freaking Rollins, and then CM Punk comes out. Eventually, Seth kind of gets the better of him. Roman Reigns comes out, and Roman spears him, and then he Superman punches Paul Heyman, lays him out, and he's going to spear Paul Heyman, which I was already thinking they're not going to let him do this, so something's going to happen. And sure enough, from under the ring or from the crowd, whatever, in a hoodie, somebody speared Roman instead while he was on his way to spear Paul, and it was Braun Breaker.
Oh, I love it.
Scott Steiner's kid, and he hugged Seth afterwards and hugged Paul afterwards, and now they are a group. It is
That's
Paul,
awesome.
Seth, and Braun Breaker.
That's so awesome. Oh my god,
Welcome,
I love that.
welcome to the main event, young
Love
sir.
that. And it's been building, and I've been wondering how they were going to do it, to
Yeah,
get
because
into the.
you could tell they love him. He's got everything they need, and yeah, you knew eventually he's going to be a main eventer, and this is how they're going to do it. And they're already putting a lot of comparisons to the old. Remember Evolution?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Triple H is now Seth Rollins' role. Ric Flair's role was more of a manager. That's Paul Heyman's role.
Yep, yep.
Batista was in that group, and that's Braun Breaker. So they need one more person to kind of be the Randy Orton of the group. And a lot of people think it's going to be Austin Theory
Okay,
because
okay.
he's another one that they really liked, and he kind of fell off after that. but we'll see. We'll see. But apparently the group's not done. They're going to add one more, and there's also talk that they might add Becky because she's Seth's wife, and
Oh,
she
now
went
that
heel as
would be
well.
cool.
She
That
went
would be
heel.
really cool.
Yeah, and she came back Mania as a face. They won the
Yes.
tag titles, then they lost them the next night on Raw.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, they lost them right back to Liv and Raquel, and Becky went heel. She beat the crap out of her partner, out of Valkyria.
Oh, so that definitely lends itself to her joining the organization.
Yeah, so if it's Seth, Becky, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman, that's a hell of a group.
Man, that's great. I love a good faction.
Yeah, great faction. They got to get a good name though. I wonder what the name's going to be.
Yeah, it's got to be something good. Well, if Paul Heyman's in the creative, it'll work out all right.
Right. Well, that was a quick little wrestling rant, but anyway,
We weren't even planning that, but I love it. That was awesome.
yeah, I would definitely suggest watching the Monday Night Raw. Oh, also Rusev came back.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yes, he was on Raw as well. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a good watch. Definitely watch the end so you can see Braun Breaker
Oh,
show
I'm
up.
watching it. I mean, I was going to watch it anyway. I just was waiting for the when I had time, but now I'm going to find time. Oh man. Hey, I have one last NFL thing I want to do very briefly, if you don't mind.
Sure, of course.
Cool. There's one thing I want to mention before we get off the draft, and that's I just want to run through the guys that I didn't put in the first round that I think have a really good chance to go in the first round. Just a handful of them, real quick. One is a guy you had going, the safety from South Carolina, Nick Imanwari, 6'3", 220. Traits, people love this guy. He was also a good player. I think he has a really good chance to go in the first round, even though I didn't find a spot for him. Gray Zabel, another guy you got in that I didn't. Donovan Jackson, two interior offensive linemen, Donovan Jackson from Ohio State, Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. Those two guys could sneak in. You got another guy you got in, Donovan Ezeraku from BC, the edge guy with 16 sacks last year.
Yep.
One more edge guy that I think might sneak in is JT Tuamalau from Ohio State. Sorry about my pronunciation. And then I had one or two other. Oh yeah, and then my other favorite guy that I didn't get in the first round is cornerback Siobhan Ravel. I mentioned him briefly because I had somebody replace him. That's where I put Matthew Golden. But he's 6'2", 194, and people that like tall corners, Green Bay, are going to be all over this guy. So he might go in the first round too.
Okay. Well, for me, I didn't have Milrow, but now I'm thinking maybe I should. Didn't have him in there, and I don't have Shuck in there, but I think there's a possibility he might go in as
I'm
well.
starting to think that too now. Yeah,
How much helium he's getting is crazy.
it
Um,
is.
Also, a receiver that I kind of wanted to get in there, and I saw him going to some people as high as 20 to Denver was Luther Burton the third.
Oh, and I missed the whole page. So he was another one of my guys.
Oh, okay,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Him and Emeka Ekbuga.
yep. Well, I have Egg Booger
And you
going.
had him going. Yeah, absolutely. For some reason, I just couldn't get receivers into this thing. I only got two receivers go in the first round, but those are the two guys that I wish I could have figured out. So I'm with you.
Yep. And the last guy for me was Trey Amos, from linebacker from Mississippi.
He's about the corner on the edge. I almost said him, and then I felt like I was talking too much, so I didn't. But I'm with you on Trey Amos.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, And then real quick, since I missed the whole page, there's a handful of running backs that could possibly sneak into the first round, other than the big two that we've been talking about a lot with Gianti and Hampton. And I'll just name all of them real quick. The most likely to me is Travion Henderson from Ohio State,
Yep.
um, who is just, he had 1,000 rushing yards, 7.1 yards a carry, and also caught a ton of balls. He had the highest athletic score that I found. I think there were a person or two higher, but he had an athletic score at the combine of 92. Matthew Golden, for example, is an 87, and he was the highest rated receiver this year. Okay.
Wow.
So Travion Henderson is off the charts with his athletic testing. So he's one. Quinshawn Judkins, who was his backmate at Ohio State, who was the hammer. He's Omarion Hampton light. Okay, 6 foot 221, almost the exact same measurables as Hampton. But a straight up hammer. He's not going to catch a ton of passes for you or anything. And then two more guys, Bashul Tootin from Virginia Tech, the guy who ran the 4.32 at the combine and started shooting up. He was also very productive for 3 years at Virginia Tech. Very good receiver. So with that 40 time, he's probably going to be a second rounder at 5'9", 206. But I like him. And then last guy is Caleb Johnson from Iowa. All the production you want in the world. Ran for 1,500 yards last year, 23 touchdowns, 6.4 yards a carry, but only ran a 4.57 at the combine. So he's not a workout darling favorite, but he can play football and he's a hammer.
Okay, nice. Good information there. Guys,
Sweet.
anybody listening, I mean, I'm sure you're going to try to listen before the draft. It'll be up before then, but not too much. But even after the draft, hopefully you guys will check it out anyway because we're still giving a lot of information, and you can at least see what we were thinking heading in, and then compare it to what actually happened.
Yeah, great point, Craig. Great point. Because we're gonna. I assume we're gonna talk about doing it because we did that last year. I think it would be great to do where we get together and talk about the results of the combine in the next week or two as well, and kind of look at what we talked about compared to what actually happened. You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll revisit the draft. Yeah, maybe next week or the week after.
yeah,
Um,
whatever works for you is
once
cool with me.
once we get that done, we're gonna be then it'll be a while. But then we're gonna
Yeah,
have
we'll
some
have a
time.
couple months without NFL after
Right.
that.
We'll definitely get to that for sure. Get some more content out there and see how it goes. But hopefully it'll go well. In terms of our teams.
Oh man, I know, man. Yeah, you guys are one of the key points of the draft. You really are. It's like where does Janty go? I think the Bears are another key spot at 10. You guys at 12. There's these certain linchpin spots, man, and you guys are one of them to me because there's a lot of intrigue about what you're going to do. Is it going to be one of the receivers? Is it going to be a typical Cowboys, much like the Eagles, because they go trenches just like the Eagles, D line, O line. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it just could be one of those guys because that's what they like to do. So yeah, I can't wait to find out, man. And then the Eagles are just going to be sitting there, maybe moving, maybe not, trying to see what comes to them. You know.
I think if Genty lasts past the Raiders, Dallas might be in play to move up in front of New Orleans or
That's a great call.
trade with New Orleans.
That's a great call.
But I think they're waiting to see if he lasts that long. If he goes in like number 5 or 6 overall, they're not going to do anything. But if he gets past them, I bet you they're going to start making some phone calls.
That makes a lot of sense because they'd be hurting themselves for years to get up to number 4 or 5, but they could do it without killing themselves to get up to number 10.
Right from 12. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Exactly. They give up a third rounder or something to do that. Yeah, no problem. But they're not going to give up a future first rounder to get Janty. That's for sure. I'm with you
Definitely
100%.
not. Definitely not.
I love it, man. Well, this was really fun. I like doing it this way too. I really enjoy doing it that way, where we just go through
Yeah.
all the picks and talk about the options. That was really
Yeah.
cool. It's amazing to me how many I didn't keep tally, but I think we had like at least like half the round. We were on the same page, which is amazing.
Even some later ones where you would think it'd be a lot more variety, we had some.
Yes, and even when we didn't have the same guy, because we had one of us would have that guy that the other one was taking went earlier, we were on the same position.
Yeah. We just went to the next one down in our position rankings.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool.
Yep. All right. Well, it's going to be very interesting. I'll be watching. And anything else to add?
No, man, I am mock drafted out, and we are T minus about 3.5, 4 hours to actual draft time, and I cannot wait.
Yes. Don't forget, guys, to join me and Al tomorrow on the Baseline podcast, different podcast hosted by Jordan the Unicorn. And we are going to be doing our starting pitchers rankings of all time, top 10. We did 20 to 11. That's already up. And we're going to do 10 to 1 tomorrow with Jordan. Hopefully, you guys join us over there on the Baseline.
So much fun doing those, man. And I was just finishing up my top 10 notes last night, and so many fun little stories. And I have some, there were a lot of guys that we're not going to spend a ton of time on this time because they were in somebody else's list last week. But one of those was Steve Carlton. But boy, did I find some fun stuff other than the stuff we talked about last week to talk about with Steve Carlton. He did not karate chop rocks, by the way. It was bags. It was bags of rice. So there's more like that coming for anybody that wants to check that out.
Awesome. All right, well, that's going to do it. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, until I say probably 2 weeks from now is when we'll revisit this. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy the draft and join us then and join us tomorrow. And until then, I will see you later.